Tonight, wildfire warnings. Out-of-control flames hit Western Canada. Urgent alerts in Alberta.
Pretty scary, especially having it that close.
And in British Columbia, an early start to what could be another devastating season.
A train engulfed in flames.
The horrifying moment a train up in flames barreled through a downtown Ontario city. Also, sources tell CTV News Honda is set to build a major EV battery plant in Canada.
It's very unfair.
In the U.S., the first witness takes the stand in Donald Trump's criminal trial. The ex-publisher of a tabloid accused of being the architect behind a catch-and-kill scheme. And an old masterpiece gets a modern makeover thanks to AI.
Yo, I'm a paparazzi. I don't play no Yahtzee.
The picture that says 1,000 words about the future.
It can be easier for us to be tricked by these tools.
I'm legit, not Sakurasi.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina.
Good evening, everyone. We begin tonight with evacuation alerts in Western Canada as flames threaten several communities. The fires signaling an early start to the season are in British Columbia and Alberta, putting crews on high alert after last year's record-breaking flames scorched millions of hectares across Canada. CTV's BC Bureau Chief Andrew Johnson on the new dangers and the response.
An Alberta road blocked as firefighters race into the brush.
Yeah, Lac-Saint-Anne Fire Department was here. We had a skid steer, some shovels, and a bunch of men from the subdivision. So, yeah, close call.
People in a rural area 50 kilometers northwest of Edmonton got a scare this afternoon. They were told to be ready to get out.
Pretty scary, especially having it that close. Yeah, I haven't thought of having to evacuate, and we have a bunch of animals and stuff as well.
Fortunately, fire crews with help from the community knocked down the human-caused flames quickly. Further north, near Fort McMurray, hundreds were put on alert because of an out-of-control fire a few kilometers away. Ominous in a region home to the most expensive disaster in Canadian history, wildfires destroyed thousands of homes in 2016. New flames are also sparking alerts in BC.
We have had warmer than seasonal averages for temperatures and a low snowpack over the winter.
The largest fire exploded in size over the weekend. It now covers 16 square kilometers between Quesnel and Williams Lake and is also believed to be human-caused. BC is coming off its most destructive wildfire season ever and trying to get ahead of the next one.
We've released more equipment, helicopters, aircraft. We've hired more people.
Much of the province is already considered at moderate or high fire risk, prompting new warnings to be careful and prepared.
If you are outdoors recreating, driving quads, having campfires, be aware of the conditions. It's incredibly dry.
It's really important for people to have a preparedness kit in place and plans for their family and their business.
It's hoped people adopting those tips, as well as moving anything flammable further away from their home, could save properties this season. There is a lot of concern over what the next few months could bring, unless, of course, it's rain. A wet spring could go a long way. Omar.
All right, Andrew, thank you. Anxious moments in downtown London, Ontario, as a train in flames barreled through the city. A CP freight train on fire stunned onlookers.
I've seen the train going across the bridge there, totally engulfed in flames. I couldn't believe it. I could smell a little bit of smoke. It smelled like campfire to us. And the smoke was quite heavy coming out of over the top of the building there.
The train did come to a stop, taking 30 firefighters about an hour to get it under control.
We were able to put it out very quickly with the use of foam.
The burning cars were carrying old wooden railway ties. Luckily, no one was hurt, and crews were able to disconnect it from another car carrying hazardous materials. Damage is estimated at about $35,000, and CP Rail Police are now investigating. 4,000 delegates from around the world are in Ottawa this week for a major United Nations summit to end plastic pollution. The globe generates about 400 million tons of plastic waste each year. And of the 13,000 chemicals it takes to make plastics, some are highly toxic, especially harmful to marine ecosystems. CTV's Judy Trin on the growing threat and the politics of reaching a deal on this Earth Day.
Each day brings an additional 30,000 tons of plastic, floating in oceans, washing up on shores in every corner of the world.
The importance of Earth Day for me is to, and in South Africa, is to reduce the production of plastics.
We don't have a plastic problem, we have a people problem.
Creating a binding agreement to end plastic pollution is the aim of this United Nations conference. Over the next 3 days, thousands of delegates from 175 countries will try to draft a roadmap.
A deal that could allow us to protect nature, to protect our very own health, and of course the climate, and help create jobs and opportunities.
But this international treaty needs clear targets to keep the problem from growing. Nations have to agree on how much plastic production needs to be cut, how much more should be recycled, and by when.
But we need everyone on board for this to be a lasting solution. Governments, Indigenous people, civil society, industry.
Today, the NDP brought out an advocate to remind Canadians that domestic companies are still shipping their plastic waste overseas.
When you send your plastic waste to Malaysia for recycling, you're essentially polluting our soil, our water, our air, and our bodies.
Researchers have found toxic chemicals from plastic in marine life and in human placentas of unborn babies, but some are still unconvinced by the evidence.
If you really cared about Canadians and the planet, you would cancel next week's radical international plastics banning meeting.
The Conservative Party has now mounted a campaign to bring back plastic straws, 2 years after Canada banned them, along with other single-use plastics. Globally, 59 countries, or about 1/3 of all nations, support getting rid of single-use plastics. Domestically, Canada has plans to force plastic companies to disclose what chemicals they're using, how much plastics they're producing, and how much they're recycling. Omar.
All right, Judy, thanks. And there are signs of another big step on the road to a greener future tonight. Sources tell CTV News Honda is set to announce a major investment in electric vehicles in Canada. Here's CTV's Adrian Gabriel.
Putting a charge into Canada's electric vehicle industry.
Potentially the biggest investment that company has ever made.
Multiple sources tell CTV News that Honda is indeed the company making the massive investment. Once the deal is made public, it would be Ontario's third electric vehicle battery plant. Honda's plan is to manufacture batteries here at its automotive plant in Alliston, Ontario. The scale of the plans would reportedly dwarf Stellantis LG's 4 million square foot facility set to open this year in Ontario, as well as Volkswagen's 16 million square foot EV battery manufacturing hub. And Ontario's premier could barely keep a lid on the news today.
This week, we've landed a new deal. It'll be the largest deal in Canadian history. It'll be double the size of Volkswagen. So stay tuned.
Though the secret is now out, and the deal is expected to include a unique blend of capital commitments and tax credits.
Tax credit offered by the feds is different than anything the Americans offer. Everybody in the auto business around the world will say, what did that company do? At what size? Where?
Though the partnership doesn't come without risk. Electric vehicle sales, while still growing in Canada, have slowed. Just last week, Tesla announced it was letting go more than 10% of its workforce, with the company's stock down more than 35%. And in Ontario, Ford Motor Company has delayed the start of its planned electric vehicle production by 2 years. Once the deal is officially finalized, it would give Ontario an end-to-end electric vehicle supply chain, with both EVs and the batteries they need manufactured right here in the province. Now, as for Honda, we requested an interview today. Omar, they declined. The official announcement is expected later this week.
All right, Adrian, thank you. First Nations leaders are renewing calls to disband Thunder Bay Police Service as the former chief faces criminal charges in a misconduct investigation.
There is a complete lack of trust. Everything has broken down.
The Chiefs want Ontario's Inspector General of Policing to bring an outside service to investigate the deaths of Indigenous people. Since 2018, several reports have concluded investigations by Thunder Bay Police were tainted by systemic racism. Police in Toronto are also coming under increasing scrutiny after the high-profile acquittal of a man charged with murder. And today, word one of Canada's largest police organizations will undergo a review. Here's CTV's John Woodward.
Officer Lisa Forbes said on the stand that Detective Constable Jeffrey Northrup was run down standing up, arms out, in Toronto's City Hall parkade in 2021. But Toronto Superior Court heard testimony by Forbes and two other officers did not match the evidence that Zamir likely hit Northrup while reversing his BMW. Zamir testified he was fleeing what he thought was an attack on him, his pregnant wife, and 2-year-old child, with no idea the people were plainclothes officers. The judge highlighted potential collusion among the officers who all had the same wrong story.
I'm hoping that they take a hard look at what happened in this case, and particularly the testimony of certain officers.
Toronto police have begun that review, saying Monday they have called in the OPP. Chief Myron Demkew also ordered a full internal review of all aspects of plainclothes policing, including equipment and procedures for officer and public safety.
This is going to raise a whole new set of questions and inquiries for the police, not just in Toronto, but maybe right across the country.
The Crown Attorney said in a statement the event was serious enough it needed a trial to determine the facts. The judge apologized to Zamir, some suggesting a special prosecutor could have provided some objectivity in a highly politicized case. Even the Premier had tweeted his outrage that Zamir got bail in 2021.
For the Premier, and I think John Tory, to comment on that, a specific case, was wrong, totally wrong. The Premier should apologize.
I think we need more accountability and transparency, and I expect there will be, and I hope there will be lessons learned from this case.
No word from Premier Doug Ford. Former Toronto Mayor John Tory said he had learned that despite pressure from the media and the public to comment on these kinds of matters, one should wait until significantly important information is available. Northrup's death caused an outpouring of grief.
I share the feelings of our members who were hoping for a different outcome.
Zamir apologized for his role in Northrup's death Sunday. As he was fighting that murder charge, Constable Lisa Forbes was promoted to sergeant. John Woodward, CTV News.
On the first day of opening statements in Donald Trump's historic criminal trial, prosecutors put the ex-publisher of the National Enquirer on the stand, making the case that the tabloid was central to quashing negative stories about the former president. CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbin on the takeaways.
Even before his trial started, Donald Trump slammed the case against him.
I'm here instead of being able to be in Pennsylvania and Georgia and lots of other places campaigning, and it's very unfair.
The man who wants to be president again forced to sit silently in a New York courtroom, no longer in control, as prosecutors in the first criminal trial of a U.S. president laid out their case against him. Prosecutor Matthew Colangelo told the jury Donald Trump orchestrated a criminal scheme to corrupt the 2016 presidential election, and that Trump lied over and over again to cover up an alleged affair with porn star Stormy Daniels, colluding with his lawyer Michael Cohen to falsify business records and hide it from voters. Prosecutors say Trump's campaign was in damage control. The Access Hollywood tape had leaked, with Trump boasting about groping women weeks before the 2016 election.
When you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Trump's lawyer, Todd Blanche, pushed back, saying Trump was simply trying to protect his family, his reputation, and his brand, telling the jury hush money isn't a crime. And spoiler alert, there's nothing wrong with trying to influence an election. It's called democracy. The first witness, David Pecker, longtime friend and publisher of the tabloid The National Enquirer. The prosecution says Pecker, Trump, and his lawyer, Michael Cohen, hatched a scheme to catch and kill damaging stories about Trump during the election. Hush money payoffs went to Karen McDougal and Stormy Daniels over alleged affairs. Trump left court ripping into Michael Cohen, a key witness, possibly violating Trump's gag order.
And when are they going to look at all the lies that Cohen did in the last trial? He got caught lying in the last trial.
All of it unsavory and very serious for a man who wants to be president. Donald Trump faces 34 criminal counts and says he wants to testify in his own defense. Omar?
All right, Joy, thank you. U.S. President Joe Biden weighed in on pro-Palestinian protests on college campuses today.
I condemn the anti-Semitic protests. That's why I've set up a program to deal with that.
Columbia University canceled in-person classes, and there were several arrests at Yale. Students at several universities are demanding a ceasefire in Gaza. Some Jewish students say some of the demonstrators are making them feel unsafe. Ottawa police are investigating allegations of hate speech at a pro-Palestinian rally on Parliament Hill on the weekend. There were several complaints over chants allegedly supporting the October 7th attack on Israel by Hamas. That also drew condemnation from the Prime Minister. The head of Israeli military intelligence has resigned over failures to prevent Hamas's October 7th attack. Also today, an independent panel for the United Nations revealed Israel has yet to provide evidence of claims UN staff are involved with terrorist organizations. And authorities in Gaza say they recovered more bodies from mass graves at the site of a main hospital. Coming up.
Sell to a U.S. owner or cease operating in the U.S.
TikTok braces for an ultimatum on the eve of a pivotal U.S. Senate vote. Plus, how a rapping Mona Lisa is testing the ethical limits of AI. The future of TikTok in the U.S. is up in the air tonight. The U.S. Senate could vote as early as tomorrow on a bill that would ban the social media app if Chinese parent company ByteDance doesn't sell within a year. Congress is looking to address security concerns over data being shared with China, which TikTok insists it does not do. A famous work of art has been transformed into a modern masterpiece thanks to new AI-generated video from Microsoft that's giving a bit more personality to the Mona Lisa. And while the technology can be entertaining, it can also be potentially destabilizing, especially in an election year. 2 billion people in 50 countries will head to the polls in 2024 at a time when deepfakes and disinformation are surging. Here's CTV's Alison Bamford on the advancements and potential pitfalls.
I don't play no Yahtzee.
A masterpiece remastered in the new age of artificial intelligence.
Users hate being interrupted.
It's the work of Microsoft's VASA 1, technology that uses a single photo and an audio track to generate virtual characters, some more believable than others.
It shows the great potential of this technology, and it also shows exactly why this technology is so terrifying.
With lifelike facial expressions and natural movements, experts say this takes the possibility of deception to a whole new level.
It doesn't have to be a famous person with lots of photos. It could be just a photo of your mom, and it will mimic or spit out exactly whatever text it's getting in that moment.
Microsoft says the technology is not intended to create content used to mislead or deceive, rather improve areas in education, healthcare, and communication. But like other AI tools, it runs the risk of being misused for impersonation.
It can be easier for us to be tricked by these tools, especially as these technologies advance.
Earlier this year, OpenAI, the creators of ChatGPT, introduced Sora, a program that can generate videos like these from simple text instructions. Experts say the key to weeding out AI content from the real world is digital literacy.
Not only knowing how to use these tools to get the information that we want, but also to be able to detect certain clues if something has been generated by AI.
Subtle distortions, blurred backgrounds, and inconsistent shadows are just some clues to watch out for. Now, both programs, VASA 1 and Sora, are in the research stages with no immediate plans to be released to the public. But they do serve as examples of the AI capabilities on the horizon. Alison Bamford, CTV News, Regina.
Still ahead, from song to sport. No matter how hard I try. Generations of women making and breaking records. Months after Oscar and Grammy winner Cher said she wouldn't be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame even if they gave her $1 million, the music icon, frustrated about being snubbed for decades, is now being inducted.
Do you believe in life after
Others joining Cher in the class of 2024 include Ozzy Osbourne, Peter Frampton, and Mary J. Blige. From record makers to record breakers, Taylor Swift is shattering more of them. The superstar's latest album has broken the record for biggest pop album of all time by first-day streams. The Tortured Poets Department raked in 300 million streams on Spotify alone. Amazon and Apple say the album broke first-day records across their platforms as well. And a 99-year-old swimmer from BC is also smashing records.
It's such a good feeling when you glide through the water.
Betty Russell made more history over the weekend in the 800-meter freestyle event for her age group. She says she competes to stay healthy and because she loves the sport and plans to swim at the World Senior Games in October when she will be 100 years old. An inspiration. After the break, taking in a spring spectacle from nature. We leave you tonight with a sure sign of spring. CTV's Heather Butts on nature's remarkable display.
A swaying sea of color on a spring day in Toronto. The vibrant cherry blossoms bringing excitement to the city.
First word was, wow, that's amazing.
In Toronto's High Park, famous for its canopy of flowering sakura trees, the spectacular site now officially in peak bloom.
That means more than 70% of the blossoms are now open.
The seasonal rite to spring draws hundreds of thousands each year. Roads are closed, allowing visitors to consume the beauty and aroma.
Embracing the beautiful memories of spring and new beginnings.
There are more than a dozen spots across Toronto to view cherry blossoms, some a little less busy.
It's beautiful, kind of mesmerizing. I just love it.
This couple marking Earth Day, where the blossoms are bountiful.
They're magnificent. The aroma, the fragrance of the sakura cherries blossoms are just incredible.
Part of the excitement around peak bloom is it doesn't last very long. Once open, flowers only last 4 to 10 days, depending on the weather.
Warm and unsettled weather means we can have a shorter bloom period, whereas cool, calm weather can extend that bloom time.
In Vancouver, record warmth in March had at least one variety blooming 2 weeks early. Then most petals were on the ground quickly.
They used to follow suit pretty well and come out predictably. And now with climate change, this year was the most challenging.
Still, Lonely Planet named Vancouver as one of the best places to view cherry blossoms in the world. Gifts from Japan, which began in the 1930s, cherry trees can be found across the country, where some find peace within the petals.
With all of the political negativity going on the planet today, this is just so nice to come and take a break.
A treasure to be enjoyed as the blossom's beauty will soon be gone. Heather Butts, CTV News, Toronto.
Beautiful. That's a snapshot of this Monday. Thank you for watching. And to all those celebrating, may you have a happy Passover. Good night.